It wasn't really a future, but I thought I wasn't gonna make it by the age of 21.
So, what happened? How how did you come to America?
Oh, so going into this gang life, that's at some point I have my friends and we were all feeling that we wanted to get out of it. We did. That was a different story or a long story, but we did get out. Um, However, the sad part is one of our friends got killed. He got stabbed 14 times one night. You gotta understand in the gang business or anything, the revenge or avenge, whatever you do to people, it'll always come back to you. There's karma. This is what happened to my friend, and we were all guilty as much as he was, and we were giving and we were taking, but you have to understand the people who are weak back then, they always get stronger later and come back and look for you. So these are the lessons that you have to learn. So that was a game changer for us, and I had to skip town, and a lot of things happened. I had to reevaluate my life. I was just going to 17 at that point, sad, depressed, lost a friend. Going through that, it was very, very hard. It was heartbreaking because we all grew up together. We all got each other's back, and we trusted each other. We had a strong bond, and I figured, right, we were right at the brink of getting out, and he was accepted to become a police officer, ironically, and it just you know this thing happened, and I couldn't handle it. But I had to move on. I was alone every day. I tell myself, get hold of myself. No one really advised me. I mean, you just, your parents. You, my parents are traditional parents. I mean, these are the things that you know. I barely talk to my dad day in day out. Just so you know, we never had a relationship. It's always a father. He goes to work. He comes home. He has his cigarettes. He has his whiskey. He watches TV. He eats. He goes to bed. I mean, I don't blame him. I don't get me wrong. I love my parents, but that's how life was. There's no social thing. There's no freedom of speech or whatever. You have to respect, and you do your thing, and you go to school. As long as you're making the right grades, you don't get expelled from school. You're fine. You don't get the beatings at home either. So you're okay if you maintain that. Um, yes, and to answer your question, I always wanted to come to America. I was so determined that no matter what, a poor guy, a poor kid from a distant, remote area of Malaysia, unheard of. No one could even imagine that somebody like me could actually, have this aspiration to come to America and go to college, right? I was so determined, and I created these opportunities for myself. Never had any money. I worked for 3 years in an assembly line, electronics factory, to start saving money. While I was saving money, I was doing night shifts, day shifts, and then I put that money, and then I went to community college. In the community college, it allowed me to accumulate at least about a year worth of credit, college credit that I could transfer to any university in the United States. However, still don't have money. You see, that's the basic part of it. It's just that what type of person actually plans for something without any money, right? But I went ahead with it. My parents thought I was foolish. My friends thought I was foolish. My relatives thought I was foolish. That I was just shooting in the dark. I'm not gonna make it. Uh, but you see, the moral of the story is I can't even explain. It's just that if you really want something, you can create this opportunity. You can't wait for it to happen. You create these possibilities for you, the permutations. Do you understand? These are the possibilities you can make it happen because you really want it, right? I mean, I went begging for scholarships. I had good grades at some point that actually qualifies for the local universities. Still couldn't get in because I'm an Indian minority. I mean, that's a different story. Um, but determined to come to America. I went to uh, the community college, like I said, graduated there, did whatever I can. I became top student there, and then still no scholarship. I went back to work because I needed money to actually go to the United States. I started working again. Saved enough, just enough for one semester of tuition, which is about $3,000 to $4,000 tuition, and then another $3,000, um, room, room and board, basically those expenses, right? Did that, got some money saved. Now what? The loss, the university I applied to, they accepted this. So one university they accepted was the cheapest, but they had good computer science programs. So I figured, okay, I'm just gonna go over there. So I got accepted, submitted the application to the U.S. Embassy in Malaysia. I got accepted a few months later. Got the good news, still no money. What do I do? So you need a student visa. So what I did was, I came up with an idea. I said, okay, I went to 3 of my uncles. I convinced them to put enough money in my bank account for just one day, and then I'll give it all back. The purpose of that was, the rules are such that you have to, in the embassy, when you're applying for a visa, you have to produce or show evidence that you can support yourself the whole year, minimally. So the whole year it's about 15 grand, $15,000 US dollars, right? I didn't have that kind of money. It was hard enough to save $3,000, right? So convincing them was hard enough because they thought this is all futile. This is just useless what I'm doing. And finally they agreed. They trusted me. They put some money, just enough, $13,000 US dollars, goes in my bank account. I take that bank draft, and then I take my application for a student visa. I go to the American Embassy for my interview. The officer grills me for about 30 minutes, and then he just stamps, and then he gives me the visa. And I almost cried. It was really emotional. It was all me, right? Alone, doing these big things, who would have thought, right? I didn't think I was going to get it. And I just stepped out. It just sunk in. And I was sitting outside the embassy and just crying. So that was the best moment in my life. So again, so I went home. I was like, I was so joyous, and the funny thing is, I got the visa. Now I can go to college in America, but I don't have money now. I had to give back all the money to my uncles, because that was the deal, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go back and give them, return everything. As I said, you have to keep your word. They needed that money, right? That's their money. So I'm back at 4,000 US dollars, barely enough to survive the first semester, and I'm at peace with that. I was, I told myself, I've come this far. I'm not gonna turn back. I will survive. Yet I will survive in another country without my parents, without anyone, because I've come this far here. No one really helped me. I mean, they helped. They helped, but they always had doubt. They doubted me at the same time. But this was my one chance that I came back out of, and I'm all the way in, right? So imagine you're just turning 18. You decide to do this. You go back, and then now you work, and you go back to like 22 years now. I said, no, this is it. So I bought the plane ticket, $4,000 in my pocket, I'm flying out. 1995. I land in America. Still remember in LAX, spending about 8 hours layover. So, to answer your question, no one, thought a guy like me, a kid like me would have made it. Because there's just absolutely no chance. There was zero chance. This should not even have happened. Okay? An immigrant kid, right? Now I'm an immigrant, but I was a student coming to America to study computer science. Finally make it there. And life wasn't easy. What did I do in college? How did I find money to pay my tuition? So I had to keep 3 jobs. I was picking up garbage on campus, in girls' dorm and guys' dorms, in the weekends and nights. I'm delivering Chinese food. I subsidized my roommate's car, and then I give him half of what I make from the tip money, and then I keep the rest. At night I worked at a group home taking care of mentally disabled citizens. So life just went on. I could have quit because college life was so hard. I had to keep these 3 jobs to keep paying. And in summer I'll take the Greyhound and I'll travel to Minnesota to find summer jobs. Because if you're a foreign student, international student, you're not allowed to work. You can only work 20 hours per week on campus. So you're pretty much bound to this law. So, but sometimes Congress allows international students to work in theme parks and whatnot in some summer. So I take advantage of that. I'll go thousands of miles and just go work and come back just to pay the tuition for the fall, right? And then all that money's gone, right? Your hard-earned money's gone. So, but life was going on. But at some point, I'm so glad that I kept going until I graduated. So, to answer your question, it's a long story. There's a lot of small stories that lead up to this, but for your question, I think this is the answer. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. And last question.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all of your life lessons and things that you learned,
Mm-hmm.
what would you like to be remembered by?
Many things. First, I want to be remembered hopefully as a good father.
Yeah, you are.
Thanks. And a good husband. I'm always improving myself, getting better at what I do. Everyone is, right? We are all learning, we're consistently learning. I also love what I do. I work for a nonprofit, and I finally get to do what I want to do, is give back, help people in their worst day, and alleviating human suffering. So that's something I hope people remember, that the things that I'm building, I'm a technologist, obviously. I build systems, I build software, I build hardwares. I hope the legacy of what I build is going to last for a long time, and people remember that, hey, this guy, he came in and he did this. All this is helping us get to the victims or survivors, on their worst days. And of course, my main thing is I want to be remembered as a person who contributed or changed somebody's life in a good way. I hope. That's all I want. I don't want anything else other than just that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.